Egypt's President Abdel Fattah el-Sisi visits Eritrea to discuss the regional landscape. Egypt denies the claims made by Sudan's commander of the Rapid Support Militia. And Egyptian Minister of Finance Ahmed Kujouk unveils details for tax incentives and facilities. You are now watching the latest updates here in Egypt on Q News. I'm Henny Saif and we'll move on for the latest developments in Egypt. Egypt's President Abdel Fattah el-Sisi is visiting the Eritrean capital, Asmara, with the aim of furthering bilateral relations across various fields and engaging in discussions on the regional landscape. Discussions will cover efforts to promote stability and security in the Horn of Africa and the Red Sea regions in a way that supports the development process and meets the aspirations of populations throughout the region. In a statement by the Egyptian Ministry of Foreign Affairs, Egypt has denied the claims made by the commander of the Rapid Support Militia and called on the international community to examine the evidence that substantiates his allegations. Now, Egypt reaffirmed its unwavering commitment to the security, stability and unity of Sudan, both in terms of its territory and its people. Egypt also emphasizes that it will spare no effort in providing all necessary support to its Sudanese brothers to address the severe repercussions resulting from this brutal war. Egyptian Deputy Prime Minister for Industrial Development and the Minister of Industry has met with Yazaki Electrical Systems delegation to discuss updates on the company's factory, funded by 30 million euros in foreign investments, and to enhance cooperation between Egypt and Japan in industry and transportation. The factory will occupy 67,000 square meters with 30 million euros in foreign investments and aims to export its entire production to major European car companies. It will generate about 100 million euros annually and will create around 3,000 direct and 500 indirect jobs, with production set to begin by March 2025. The company also plans to establish a 5,000 square meter logistics center. Egyptian Minister of Electricity and Renewable Energy, Mahmoud Ismat, and Ambassador of Jordan to Egypt, Amjad Al-Adayla, have discussed ways to support and enhance partnership, cooperation, and investment in various fields. The meeting has discussed the vision of the Ministry of Electricity and Renewable Energy on diversifying energy sources, the energy mix strategy, reliance on new and renewable energies, and the investment opportunities available in this field. The two sides also discussed supporting and assisting the private sector to establish clean energy projects within the framework of the general policy to reduce fuel consumption and reduce carbon emissions. Egyptian Prime Minister Mustafa Madbouli has announced that the partial trial operation of the Grand Egyptian Museum will begin next Wednesday. Prime Minister Madbouli stated during a press conference that the Grand Egyptian Museum is Egypt's gift to the world. On another note, Prime Minister Madbouli said that the state is keen to continue development operations in Upper Egypt. The Minister of Higher Education and Scientific Research, Ayman Ashur, has explained that the number of Egyptian universities in the Times Higher Education World University Ranking 2025 has increased compared to the last year's version. The Minister of Higher Education added that the results recorded the inclusion of 35 Egyptian universities compared to about 28 universities in the 2024 version, an increase of 7 universities over last year's results. Prime Minister Mustafa Madbouli has stressed the need to offer Hajj at reasonable prices, while also providing high-quality services for those who opt for more luxurious Hajj programs. Madbouli's remarks came during the Supreme Hajj Committee meeting to discuss early preparations for the 2025 Hajj season in the presence of several ministers and high-level officials. He highlighted the importance of maintaining strong coordination between relevant authorities in Egypt and Saudi Arabia to ensure the upcoming Hajj season is well organized. The fourth edition of the Egypt International Health Conference and Exhibition, EG Health 2024, has launched under the auspices of the Ministry of Health and Population and the Egyptian Drug Authority. The fourth session of the EG Health Conference seeks to raise issues related to the health sector in Egypt, one of the most important pillars of the Egyptian government's work. Egyptian Deputy Prime Minister and Minister of Health and Population has confirmed the increase in supply of medicines to the local market, amounting to an additional 160 million packages of 467 pharmaceutical preparations since the beginning of last August up until now. Hussam Abdel Ghaffar, the official spokesman for the Ministry of Health and Population, explained that the Egyptian Drug Authority is pumping additional quantities of important medications that fall under the therapeutic groups. The Egyptian Drug Authority confirmed the continuation of its efforts to ensure the availability of the necessary medicines in the local market. The head of the National Council for Childhood and Motherhood, Sahar Sambati, has announced that the General Administration for Child Rescue received 94,178 calls through the hotline. Sambati has explained that among the incoming calls, the General Administration for Child Rescue dealt with 4,983 reports, complaints, and requests for assistance and services, noting that 87% of the total number of service seekers were for support and assistance for children in danger, and that 13% were requests for psychological and legal consultations. In the economic news, the Egyptian Minister of Finance, Ahmed Kujuk, has unveiled the details of the first package of tax incentives and facilities, promising it will be fully implemented within the current fiscal year. Minister Kujuk affirmed during a press conference held at the government's headquarters that Egypt is making strong efforts to improve its tax system and stimulate investment and economic growth. He also, for the first time, announced that the cabinet will introduce a simplified and integrated tax system for small and medium taxpayers, earning up to £15 million annually. Egyptian Minister Rania Mashot and Romanian Minister Stefan Radu Oprea chaired the fourth session of the Egyptian-Romanian Joint Committee for Economic Cooperation in Bucharest, the first meeting since 2019. Several agreements were signed, including a Memorandum of Understanding on Investment, an action plan for agriculture, and a services agreement for the Tuzi pipeline installation. These efforts aim to boost bilateral cooperation in various sectors, including investment, agriculture, and small enterprises. Egypt's local development minister, Manal Awad, has said that Egypt seeks to expand the establishment of smart cities. Now, this is evidenced by the implementation of digital transformation in some governorates and building technological centers. The minister added that the Egyptian government works to develop localities and bridge the gap between new and existing cities in rural and urban areas through the Hayat Karima presidential initiative. She highlighted that her talks with UNIDO officials focus on upgrading industrial clusters in the governorates of Asyut, Inna, Soheg, and Ilminia. In the Egyptian exchange, the EGX indices declined at the close of Thursday's trading session. The market capital reached £2.189 trillion after transactions that totaled about £42 billion. The EGX 30 benchmark index declined by 1.33%. The broader EGX 70 index of the leading small and mid-cap enterprises dipped by 0.47%. The EGX 100 index went down by 0.55%. And in the world of sports, 4 foreign-based players have joined the national team's camp ahead of an Africa Cup of Nations qualifier against Mauritania. Mohamed Salah, Mustafa Mohamed, Mohamed Abdel Min'im, and Omar Marmoush took part in training. Egypt leads Group C with 6 points and aims for early qualification. Ceramica Cleopatra have completed a major 4-player exchange deal with Pyramids FC. Nigerian winger Sodika Awujula has moved to the 2024 Egypt Cup champions, while Ceramica signed winger Mahmoud Abdul Hafiz Zalaka, South African forward Fagri Lakai, defender Abdullah Magdi, and midfielder Islam Isa. The first 3 players joined on 1-season loan deals and Isa on a 1-year contract. And the Egyptian Football Association officially has announced the opening of nominations for the elections of its new board of directors on November 10th. The elections are scheduled to be held on December 10th. This announcement comes within the framework of the peaceful transfer of power within the union, as the current council has been assuming its duties since January 2022, succeeding the tripartite committee headed by Ahmed Megahid. That brings us to the end of our Egyptian news bulletin, but here's a reminder of today's main stories. Egypt's President Abdel Fattah el-Sisi visits Eritrea to discuss the regional landscape. Egypt denies the claims made by Sudan's commander of the Rapid Support Militia. And Egyptian Minister of Finance Ahmed Kushuk unveils details for tax incentives and facilities. These are all the news we have for this hour, but please remember to stay updated by following Q News on YouTube, Facebook, X, Instagram and TikTok at QNewsEG for the latest developments. I'm Henny Saif. Thank you for joining us.